Welcome to Sports House. I'm Chase House. Week 11 is in the books, which means Thanksgiving football is here. And every year around the same time, I think the same thing. Who is responsible for making us watch the same two teams every Thanksgiving? And why is it cemented into stone, permanent, never changing, and why aren't more people asking this? Cowboys fans say they are America's team. The rest of America would disagree. And then for some reason we have to watch the Lions play every Thanksgiving. The Lions, look, I get it. This is all their fans have. They don't win games. They just play on cool days. And 31 teams, it just sounds a little weird. So this is like the NFL convincing the Lions to continue being a franchise by throwing them a Thanksgiving bone. So I get it. And honestly, Thanksgiving, it wouldn't be the same without a Lions loss. But the Cowboys? We'll start with the big winners of the week, the Kansas City Chiefs, the New England Patriots, and the Dallas Cowboys. The Kansas City Chiefs, I really wish I could come on here and just roast them and just say so much bad things about them because I hate them. I hate them so bad. So bad. But I can't. Because, damn, they're good. And it pains me to say that. It really does. Coming into this season, the Chiefs lost the most explosive player in the NFL, Tyreek Hill. And he's having actually an amazing year with the Miami Dolphins. But yet somehow, the Kansas City Chiefs, they'll just continue to win games. As long as they have Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and the Kool-Aid man, Andy Reid, they're going to be a problem. The Chiefs beat the Chargers, who were the healthiest they've been in quite some time. They finally got Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both on the field for the same game. They both made their returns. That lasted a whole 3 plays until Mike Williams tweaks his ankle and misses the rest of the game. Thanks for that, fantasy dud. The game pretty much went exactly how I thought. I actually picked the Chargers to win. I thought it would be back and forth. I just thought the Chargers would be the last team to score. But as soon as the Kansas City Chiefs got the ball back with 1:40, I expected the inevitable. That Patrick Mahomes was going to march down the field and the Chiefs were going to win at the very last second, just like they always do. If 13 seconds is enough time for the Chiefs, 1:40, that's like an entire quarter. I think Sunday night also proved the Chargers, they're a good team, and they have a lot of talent on their team, whether or not they're injured. But they are still just a step behind the Kansas City Chiefs. They are not on their level. The next biggest winner, the New England Patriots. The Patriots, like every year that they've had Mac Jones on their roster, they've had a really good defense and a terrible, terrible offense. Luckily for them, they played the Zach Wilson-led crop-dusting airplanes. The Patriots could have been in the biggest loser spot had the last punt not played out how it did. The 10th and final punt of the game from the New York Jets was returned with seconds to go in the game for a touchdown in the most Deshaun Jackson fashion. And the Patriots knocked off the Jets, leapfrogged them in the standings to take the final playoff spot. The last big winner, the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys season could have been derailed in the first game of the season when they lost starting quarterback Dak Prescott to injury. Luckily, they only lost 1 game in his absence. And in their game against the Vikings, the Cowboys were trying to prove they're for real. And the Vikings were trying to prove that they are not frauds. They did not succeed. I picked the Cowboys to upset the Minnesota Vikings, but I did not see it happening like that. The Cowboys, from the opening snap, destroyed the Vikings. They could do anything they want. Tony Pollard had an amazing game, receiving and running the ball. Zeke Elliott also got into the end zone a couple times. The Cowboys, they just blew them out of the water. They won 40-3 to improve to 7-3 in the weak NFC. The biggest losers. This is a good transition into the first biggest loser, the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings could do nothing right against the Cowboys. Were embarrassed at home as an 8-1 football team losing 40-3. The Vikings are frauds. I'm sorry. Out of 110 teams that have had an 8-2 record, the Vikings are dead last on point differential with a -2. And after the blowout loss, Kirk Cousins is now 10-41 against teams with a winning record. 10-41. Kirk Cousins has got to be the greatest mediocre quarterback of all time. The next biggest loser, the Los Angeles Rams. The defending champion Los Angeles Rams are basically as good as eliminated. The Rams lost to the Saints 20-7 and fell to 3-7. It's looking more and more like all those players the Rams had just for 1 year, like Eric Weddle, Von Miller, Odell Beckham Jr., it's looking like they meant a lot more to the team than anybody thought. The defending champs are most likely, and I'll just say for sure, going to be watching the playoffs from home once they start. The last biggest loser, and this one pains me to do, the Denver Broncos. Lost in collapsing fashion yet again versus the Raiders. The Broncos had a 93% chance to win the game after the 2-minute warning. It was 3rd and 10. The Raiders were out of timeouts. The Broncos decide to pass the football, throw an incompletion, stop the clock, saving around 40 seconds for the Raiders. They then punt the ball, and those 40 seconds proved to be the difference maker, as the Raiders instantly, with Josh Jacobs destroying the Broncos like he normally does, catches a 50-yard pass inside the Denver red zone with around 40 seconds to go. Denver then stops them for a few plays, and then they ultimately settle for a field goal to go to overtime. They never would have had time to get another playoff after that Josh Jacobs catch and run, if Denver wasted around 40 more seconds. The game goes to overtime. The Raiders win the toss, and as a Bronco fan, I'm saying fuck. The Raiders only took 3 plays, and you might want to defend Davante Adams. Probably a good idea. The Broncos fall to 0-3 this year in overtime games, and every single one of their losses, except for one, has been single-score games. And that one game that wasn't a single-score game was actually against the Raiders, and it was Melvin Gordon who fumbled the ball when Denver was in position to kick a game-winning field goal. He fumbled the ball. The Raiders returned it the other way and ended up winning by 9. Other than that, every game the Broncos have been in has been a one-score game, and most of them they've lost. Broncos, if you're going to suck, at least beat the Raiders. 2 of their 3 wins are against the Broncos. That is not a good feeling for us Bronco fans, and makes me never want to watch football again, quite honestly. Zach Wilson. The New York Jets were on the biggest losers, but were such big losers that they had to be moved to their own topic called Zach Wilson. Wilson completed just 9 of 22 passes for 77 yards and had about 2 or 3 passes that should have been intercepted by the Patriots but were dropped. Wilson had 9 completions. The team had 10 punts. The Jets had just 2 total yards of offense in the second half, which amounts to 2.7 inches per play. When Zach Wilson was asked if he felt like he let his defense down, he said the most enticing, most leadership and character-driven response you can imagine.
As an offense, though, I mean, when you guys are only able to score 3 points, the defense only lets up 3 points. I mean, do you feel like you let the defense down at all?
No.
Thank you.
Not a good look for someone who is supposed to be the leader of a football team. What do you mean, no? You just mean, well, if the defense allowed 0 points, our 3 would have been enough and we would have won. I completed 9 passes. That's good enough. They should figure it out. Bro, what do you mean? You completed 9 passes. You had 10 punts. You had more punts than completions. That's bad. 2 Jet players liked a tweet ripping on Zach Wilson. Both of them then unliked the tweet and then tweeted out, both claiming that they accidentally liked that tweet. And then they removed their likes and deleted the tweet explaining themselves. The Jets' PR team doing some real cleanup. The Jets head coach Robert Saleh said he is not committed to Zach Wilson being the starting quarterback for next week's game. Wilson, who missed the first 3 games of the season, still has less touchdowns than Joe Flacco. Flacco also has a higher QBR, a higher completion percentage, and barely less yards. And he played 3 games. If the Jets do bench Zach Wilson, this might be the end of his Jets career already. He's shown very little signs of growth from year 1 to year 2. And when he was drafted, I thought he had the best chance out of all the quarterbacks to be a bust. I also think he could be a good quarterback. He has the intangibles, and he could develop them, if he can, into being a good quarterback. But his ceiling and floor are so far apart that, if he gets benched by the Jets, it's hard to see him remaining a New York Jet. Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon was waived by the Broncos after his latest fumble in the Raiders game. A fumble that was not lost, and he also stayed in the game, which was interesting enough. And then after the game, I guess the team thought it was the final straw, and they released him, or they waived him. Now, I don't know why Denver didn't just wait until the offseason to split their ways with Melvin Gordon. The season is already washed, and the team has serious needs for a running back. A list of the Broncos' healthy running backs: Latavius Murray and Marlon Mack. That's the list. I think this move came when it came because it was more of a statement from the Broncos coaching staff. And I wish Melvin Gordon well. He's still a good running back, minus the fumbling. He runs the ball well. He averages fine. And I think, honestly, the Broncos put him in bad positions the entire time they had him. I'm willing to bet if I did a montage of Melvin Gordon's fumbles the last 2 years as a Bronco, I would bet 95% of them come in short yardage or goal line plays. And yet the team will continually just put him in the game in those situations. Do you know what he's good at? He is not good at that. He is a good first and second down running back and a pass catching back. If you only had him in the game for those scenarios and then put in a bruiser like Javonte Williams or now this year, Latavius Murray on third down and in goal line scenarios, that would have worked so much better. The Broncos did not know how to use him very well. He made it clear he was not a goal line and short yardage running back. Fumbled nearly every time they gave him the ball. Every Bronco fan would hold their breath. But that's what they put him in. They put him in that every time. And so if you're going to waive him, I get it. But I still think they might as well have just waited until the end of the year. Thanksgiving picks. We have 3 games on Thanksgiving like normal. 2 of them, you already know who's playing. The first game, this is a very, very unfair matchup. The Buffalo Bills and the Detroit Lions. Don't be surprised if you're getting your Thanksgiving ready and you turn on the TV to check the score and the Bills are up by 75. I expect the Bills to win big and win by at least 20 points. The Dallas Cowboys taking on the New York Giants. A good divisional game with a pair of 7-3 teams. I think the Giants can have a chance if they limit their turnovers. If they don't turn the ball over, they have a chance. And if Saquon Barkley is able to get going early and stay hot for the remainder of the game, the Giants have a chance to beat the Cowboys, who are 9-point favorites, by the way. However, I don't think that will be the case. I think they'll turn the ball over, and I think it'll be close, but I like the Cowboys somewhere around 28-24. The New England Patriots taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Short week for both teams, obviously. One of these teams narrowly escaped their game with a win. The other was blown out and did nothing, basically already took a week off. The Minnesota Vikings limping into this game. One of these teams has the best coach of all time. The other has a quarterback that is 10-41 versus teams with a winning record. And I think that will improve to 10-42 or deprove. I like the Patriots. I think it'll be close, but I like the Patriots somewhere around 27-24. This next segment is a beautiful segment. Beautiful. Jerry the Snail. Jerry's picks. Jerry the Snail has conquered the mud and dirt. He is moving on to much, much bigger things. Deciding the fate of NFL team franchises. A king to mere mortal snails. It's time for Jerry the Snail to make his debut for the Thanksgiving game picks. And starting next week, he'll be making picks for every single NFL game, deciding teams' fates. All of these games, as well as the picks that I make, will be logged in the Pro Pick'em app, so you can download that and you can follow along and compete against me and Jerry. One of these weeks, Jerry the Snail will beat me. There is no win for me to do this. Like, either I'm the guy who beat a snail in picking games, or I'm the guy that lost to a snail picking games. There's no upside for me. And this is a short week that we're doing, 3 games. This might be his best chance right out of the gate. I might lose to a snail. And I think something horrible should happen to me if I lose to a snail. I should be punished somehow. So if you guys can think of anything, maybe drop some comments of what I should have to suffer through if I lose to a snail. If he loses, he gets salt. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. Well, it's time. Jerry the Snail.
Gosh, Larry sure is different than Gary. And Gary and Larry are real different than...
Jerry the Snail with the bold move of picking the Detroit Lions to upset the best team in the NFL. He must know something that we don't. Good luck to Jerry.